He elaborates on sexual choice with the example of the peacock. This bird has an elaborate tail with colorful feathers to help it select a mate. This is its weapon. Wallace, the co-discoverer of evolution, seemed to find the gap between man and ape too much to be explained by the principles of evolution. He began to talk of spiritualism, and Darwin spent a lot of time refuting those statements. Herbert Spencer and his social Darwinism said that society needed no help to resolve all its problems. He was also opposed to the sexual selection principle. He said that sexual selection was an outcome of natural selection of evolution. Common denominators and critical thinking. Systematic control through observations help keep the mind aligned along the patterns of critical thinking. Thinking needs to have relevance and depth alongside logic. When it has clarity and breadth too, it becomes more acceptable. Relevance, dependable, as is monitoring them. When seen together, these critical thinking issues begin to strengthen Socrates' questioning. All aspects of human existence now undergo inspection for aspects such as the way we word a question. This tells you about the person who asked the question and his or her intent. It also shows where you are in the social or economic context with respect to society. The next step in critical thinking is a view of the outlook of society. This deals first with judgment aspects that come into play. For example, the fact that a person belongs to some caste or religion could be a determining factor. Secondly, the way we construct the argument or use reason can be a factor. This might have plenty to do with the local language and usage of words. There are many assumptions made, such as the use of terms like we or the use of the definite article they in different contexts. Since a slight difference in the way we orient ourselves with respect to the argument and the questioner could alter the tone of the argument, one needs to have a critical thinking aspect, namely implication. This brings us to the facts of the matter and information source that pertain to the arguments. Different people may see things in many ways, each of which may not occur to the next person. They may talk of different things while looking at the same thing. One may also not have any idea of certain things and events. Therefore, an information gap or a knowledge of such situations. So, why do we go to the river to catch fish? Because we can find fish in the water. The concept behind the reasoning can escape a person, or he or she may not have an inclination to share the knowledge. In certain cases, the person does not know of the situation leading to the concept, or they might not care. Whatever the case is, one must bring the matter into the open and be able to conduct independent inquiry that will help throw light on the matter. Critical thinking thus helps us make predictions on the matter. When do we go to catch fish? Do we choose a particular spot? Why do we act in this way? Well, it does seem to attract interest, fishing I mean. Actually, we are dealing with the critical thinking aspect of frame and time of action. If these are not mentioned, the argument will not hold much punch. Before man invented the automobile, people traveled by horse carts. When we say, Edith traveled 60 miles and arrived before 11, a person who lives, or thinks, in the setting before man invented the motor car will assume that Edith started out very early in the morning in order to reach her destination by 11 a.m., whereas a modern person would read that as a 1-hour journey by car, and so Edith started out at 10 a.m. One can hear news from the radio or television. One might hear it from the hired help, or one might hear it over the gossip network. The authenticity of such news depends on the source of news. One also hears many news items, but we only consider some things newsworthy in our opinion. Critical thinking thus puts a line of judgment that needs passing or that news does not gain recognition. Twitter and Facebook widely use this aspect of spreading news. They create a judgment aspect for sourcing information, and only those that can invoke some interest in the people around the world gain acceptance. Critical thinking thus helps modern apps function properly and use their resources in the best way. Chapter 4, Skills and Procedure. The shepherd always tries to persuade the sheep that their interests and his own are the same. Stenda.L. Developing habits and determining attitudes that augment critical thinking. Professionals often have to handle stressful situations. Each is different and will vary with time and the character of the people involved. To develop a correct stance towards situations, you need to think critically and act decisively. Use learning and interaction zones in your school or employment area. Use conflict and boost teamwork by delegating authority to your roommates or classmates. You can choose a small task or an idea that your friend needs to pay attention to. Say, the number of cars passing by. This could be their task. They need to count the number of cars and make out a list in addition to mentioning the time. Or it could be birds. Say that you are bird watching. In order to find out how many sparrows you have in our area, you count the birds. Every time you do this work, a different person is appointed for each task. This way you all get to know all the tasks. By observing results, you also get an idea of who is doing the work well. In time, you get to think as a team. The moment your bugle sounds, you are already thinking of the various things that are difficult and will need watching. One thing you must avoid is to stress on the friendliness on the job. You are not there to make friends. You are there to do your duty. This next point may make you feel like a fish out of water, well, just a little. You imagine a new character. Now, this must not be a living person, but an imaginary one. You will see how honest this person is and how quickly he or she responds to various problems. His or her confidence arises from patience. He or she is willing to spend endless hours questioning and probing the entire case from multiple angles. His or her fair-mindedness makes him or her creative. Keep this person in mind always. In time, you will become that person, and along the way, you will see how the person becomes strong or falters when facing certain situations. This will help you develop your critical thinking abilities. In the next step, you develop technical skills. Acquiring computer skills is necessary. You can either join a computer teaching facility near your home or go online to register with one. If you are planning a career in rearing dogs, you need an acquaintance with various breeds. You must learn training methods. Develop the ability to understand the various needs of dogs quickly. For this, you must work as an apprentice at a dog training school. The ability to communicate these details over the internet will help you be recognized as a dependable person. Lastly, you exist as a thinking person. You must have intellectual abilities. For this, you must develop thinking. Join online classes that teach meanings of words or impart knowledge about places and things. Go and practice daily until it becomes second nature to you. The class may teach you complicated formulas in mathematics or tell you simple things about places far away. Once your mind is willing to adapt and assimilate information, you are ready to become a critical thinker. All these will add up to one thing. You will be able to make rational decisions under stressful circumstances. You will become independent and reliable. Critical thinking will make your personality stand apart. Creativity will blossom due to the innate nature of ideas and your cognitive ability. Reasoning will be second nature due to your technical abilities. Socratic questioning in professional environment. One can just as easily trip over the questions as over the answers. To avoid this problem, you need to arrange your thoughts about the questions. You can have a list of questions and classify them like this: assumptions and situation, evidence collected or presented, stating the problem, using perspective, results and consequences. Firstly, question the assumptions that come with the situation. Are you right in thinking that this? Do you think that your supposition about this? Or how come you assume this straight away? Does this belief always hold true? The more you question the setting, the more likely you are to find the correct solution quickly. Next, question the evidence. Where did you get the evidence? What was the situation when you collected the evidence? How much is the situation likely to change since you collected the evidence? What are the reasons for assuming this evidence is right? Now you come to the problem and make a clear question that states it. Then analyze whether the problem could be made any different. Can you make it into smaller questions?